Hmm. I know some of these words. Hey, it's Nazzy from 105.5 JYY, and this is a wonderful, wonderful segment that we're doing here on Facebook Live, and thank you so much for joining us. This is a segment where I bring people on. Sometimes they're local people, sometimes they're athletes, sometimes they're local merchants, and in this case, a local author who inspires me, and hopefully after hearing his story, you'll be inspired too. So let's bring him in the room right now. Yes, here he is. Are you ready to go?
Thank you, Nazzy. I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Matt Forrest, Matt, camera two, Matt, camera two. There.
Oh, hi. I was looking for the red light. I wasn't.
No, what I love about this, he's at his house and it's his own camera, so that messed him up. All right, Matt. Before we get into your books, before we get into the fact that you are the voice that we hear when we're walking around at the Hopkinton Fair,
yes.
Before we get into that, would you like to speak about the rumor that's floating around about you right now, Matt Forrest? Would you like to shed a little light? Give me an exclusive. The fact that your voice is so hot you can melt milk chocolate. Would you like to speak about that at all right now, Matt Forrest?
Well, I have been told that a time or two. Most notably from Nazzy himself.
Okay, maybe
Nazzy is more impressed with my voice than anybody else is.
Maybe I started the rumor. Maybe,
yeah, he did.
I mean, there might be no truth behind it.
I mean, you had me concerned is when you said the rumor. I thought you were going to be talking about my third nipple. So the voice with the milk chocolate is much better than that.
No. Your publicist told me to leave that out, so
okay, great.
I wasn't going to mention that at all. So listen, really quick. Let me just pull the sheet back for a moment here.
Not to interrupt you, but people, if they don't realize, like you and I go back a long time. I used to work at JYY.
That's what I'm saying. So Matt and I have been friends for, God, probably 15 years now.
Yeah, it was January 2002 that we met because I was working. This was Nazzy at night days, and I was on with Kid Cruz the Breakfast Jam.
That's right, baby.
Yeah, we were doing the mornings, and you were at night.
I was doing nights, yes, and we just remained friends. And you stayed with the radio station until what year?
I left in July of 2012.
2012, that's right. And you left to pursue. You're writing.
Yeah, I left to be able to do more voiceover work. So I was doing if you don't know what voiceover work is, if you hear radio commercials, TV commercials. I once auditioned for Bop It. I didn't make it, but like the Bop It game,
yes,
twist it, pull it. I auditioned my voice. I didn't get it, but that's the kind of thing that voiceover work is. So I left the radio station to be able to do that more, and I also wanted to be a stay-at-home dad. We have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. And so my dude was 2.5. My 7-year-old hadn't even been born yet, but we knew she was on the way. And so I left to be able to do that. And I wanted to develop my children's writing. And I didn't realize that the children's writing would actually take off so much that voice work, I still do voice work, but I'm actually not actively seeking new clients because I don't have the time. The writing business has eclipsed the voiceover work.
Well, I mean, and also it's a tough job being a trophy husband. But I mean, if the hat fits,
it is. But someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. I mean, and you really do have a good gig.
Yeah.
And I've got to tell you, sorry. So let me jump into the books here really quick. So, you are an author, and you work for a publishing company. You're not self-published, correct? What's the difference between self-publishing and what you do with a company?
Well, with self-publishing, you write the book, you either illustrate it yourself or you hire an illustrator, and you put it all together and you pay to have it produced, or either you go through Amazon or Create Space or one of those types of things, and then you put your book out, which is fine. It's all well and good. And I do have some friends who've self-published.
Right.
And they have some really good books, but they have gone the extra steps that you really need to go to have a really good quality book. They've hired a professional editor, and they've polished it, and they've made sure that they hired illustrators who could really do a good job.
Right.
15, 20 years ago, if you told somebody that you published a book, they'd say, "Oh, that's great, congratulations," and all that. Nowadays, the reaction is, "Oh, did you self-publish?"
Right.
I'm like, no, I don't self-publish. Like, and again, I'm not trying to put down self-publishing, but anybody can do it. Like, anybody can self-publish.
Right.
So what I do is this is what is referred to as traditional publishing, where you write the manuscript and you send it out to the publishing companies or to agents. I don't have an agent yet. I've been searching for one, but haven't found one. But I send the manuscripts out to the publishing companies, and they either send you back a rejection letter saying they don't want it, or they say sure, and they write up the contract, and they pay you in advance, and then they hire the illustrator, and they do the marketing, and they do everything.
So you don't have to worry so much about that. You can focus more on the creativity. You can focus more on what you're putting in the book, as opposed to the marketing and the illustrations and all the other stuff.
Yeah, and I know some self-published folks who are thrilled that they printed up like 1,000 copies of their book or something, or however many they made. And after deducting all the expenses of hiring an illustrator and doing all this, they say, "Oh, it was great, I made $500 or I made $1,000." And I'm thinking, well, I mean, I got a $5,000 advance, plus I'm making royalties. I don't know why I would bother self-publishing.
Right. But so it's working for you, is what you're saying.
Right.
You
But
know what I mean?
Some people like that. Some people just, they want to be able to do everything themselves, and they want to have complete control over it. And that's totally fine. A lot of people feel they're very attached to what they write because it's a very personal thing. And it's very personal to me too.
Right.
But a lot of people feel like, well, I've written this and this is the way I want it to be. And I don't want anybody touching it. I want to have complete control. Right. When you publish traditionally, like I do, and there's several folks here in New Hampshire who do the same thing I do. David Elliott, who lives in town here with me, he's had numerous books out. Ryan O'Rourke is a professor at the New Hampshire Institute of Art. Even Tommy DePaula, who passed away about a year and a half ago. And there's several others in the state here who do what I do. Marty Kelly is over in New Boston. When we, and Marty actually illustrates, so he does everything himself. But when we write the manuscript, we finish the story and it's done and it's polished and we've revised it all as much as we want it. We send it to the publisher, and if the publisher wants to buy it, then they buy it. And the editor will work with you, and they may want you to change it here and there. And then the illustrator comes on board, and you often have no idea who the illustrator is going to be. You may not even know what the illustrations are going to look like until the book is out. Right. And so you're kind of sitting back and letting the publisher do their thing. And in fact, one good example of not having, and I don't mind giving up that control, but for Flashlight Night here, where is it? There you go. So for Flashlight Night, which has done extremely well, it had positive national reviews. It was selected by the New York Public Library as one of the best children's books of the year for 2017. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, if I self-published, I wouldn't have even known to send it to the New York Public Library. But with this particular book, the reason I bring this up is the illustrator, Fred Kaler, is a fellow down in Florida. And he was, he sort of developed his own, what we call a sub-narrative. It's like sort of his story is kind of going along with my story, and they meld. But the editor was the one who made sure that everything was balanced, that he was telling my story, but he was kind of telling his own story, but it had to kind of go along with mine. And there were a couple of times where his illustrations were amazing, but we were kind of losing focus of what I had written. So the editor had to kind of reel him in. But then at the end, the way he had developed his story, it wasn't quite meshing with the way I had originally written my ending. So I had to change. Interesting. It didn't significantly change the ending, but there was part of the story towards the very end. There's a tiger, and there's a pirate, and there's a kraken, and there's all kinds of things going on. When I had originally written my story, I said, all is still within, without, until a voice there is. All is still within, without, and we realize all is not still. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Yep. Yeah.
And so I had to change that. I changed it to adventure lingers, stirs about, until a voice says, shh, lights out.
Yep.
Right.
What a great line,
I had, he had to kind of be reeled in with his illustrations, but then I had to change my story. And I'm totally fine with that. It's a better book because of what they did. I mean, publishing companies have so many more resources than I do. One of the things I tell kids when I'm doing school visits, in fact, I'm going to be visiting a bunch of schools on Tuesday for Read Across America Day.
Yep.
But one of the things I tell kids is that, if you are creative, if you like reading or you like writing, you like drawing, there's everything that you see that is creative is a job. It could be the illustrations in the book. Yeah. It could be the design on your reading rug. It could be the color of the drapes. If you've got a shirt that has stripe, like somebody had to decide this was the color and pattern of my shirt.
It's the same way with radio, because people say, "Oh, you're in radio, you must be on the radio." Well, not necessarily true. You could be one of the sales reps. You could be the promotions director. There are so many other things.
when we're on air, we do everything, right?
Right. We have many hats.
Yeah. When I was there, I'm doing production and on air and remote broadcasting and the promotions and all that.
Now let me back up for a moment.
Website, okay.
Let's not do that too bad. Let me back up for a moment. Now, do you have any say? Let's say there is an artist that you particularly like his or her work. Can you mention to the publisher, "Hey, I like her illustrations. Would it be okay?" Or is it just completely up to the production house that they're the ones that match you up?
I mean, ultimately, it's up to the editor to decide. Okay. And sometimes I have been asked a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, I've been asked if I had anybody in mind who I might like to, they might want to ask, and I'll share a couple of names, but they haven't picked them. It's just because the editor has, kind of a vision, they have an idea, and if their idea kind of meshes with mine, then that's great. Doesn't always happen.
No.
The book that I've got coming out in October. Not that one. This is another one.
Another one coming out.
Right, that's coming out. That's coming out next week. So I've got another one. I had one. Where is it? This one here. Yeah, this is an incredible year for me. So this is a board book. This is the Color Shape Primer. It's a sort of a Goldilocks tale, but it's a Color Shape Primer. Elliot the Heart-Shaped Frog.
Oh my God.
Who's actually named after my friend David Elliott, who lives up here. That just came out a couple of weeks ago. So the one you were just holding up comes out next week, but I have another one coming out in October and they're all 3 are different publishing companies.
Wow.
But the one coming out in September, the editor asked me if I had any ideas, and so I gave her a couple of names, and we both kind of had the same kind of thought process as far as style.
Right.
And so she found maybe 7 or 8 different illustrators, their portfolios. Really? And she asked me, so, do any of these, what do you think of these? She knew what she liked, and she asked, what I thought. And so we both actually agreed on one particular illustrator. We both thought she brought the most in style and in sensibility. And so she's the one who she ended up hiring.
Wow. See, that's awesome. I'm going to tell you too, we got a chance to read this last night.
Oh, thank you.
This story brought tears to my eyes.
Really?
It really did. It's just a beautiful, beautiful story. I mean, and I don't want to give too much of it away, but just, about, hey, put technology down, stop for a minute and look around at all the beauty. And the illustrations, oh my goodness, they are beautiful. And this really isn't doing it justice. But what's this? Who's this artist? What's this person's name?
That's Andre Landazabal. He is an illustrator and an animator from Colombia.
Beautiful.
And now that book, where is it here? This book, that book, Once Upon Another Time.
Yep.
This is an example of the tenacity and perseverance you need in traditional publishing. Again, a lot of people like to self-publish because they have the idea, they want to get it out, and it's done.
Right.
This thing has taken like I think probably about 9 years to come out. It was started off with the first couple of lines, the very first couple of lines, the first page or two, were written by a fellow named Charles Guigne. And Charles Guigne goes by the name of Father Goose. He's down in Alabama, and he's got like 100 books to his name. His poems are on the SATs. He's got like 5,000 poems that he's written. They're in the New Yorker. Like, this guy is big time, okay?
Right.
And he had written the first couple of sort of stanzas, sort of a poem, but he thought it was a picture book, but he wasn't quite sure what to do with these lines. And so he'd asked me, if I had any thoughts as to what, where we might be able to go with it. So I thought about it for a while, and I came up with an idea for a narrative, because you can't just have a couple of stanzas. Like, there's got for a picture book, there needs to be some sort of a story, a narrative. There's got to be something there.
Yeah.
So I came up with an idea, and then I wrote a few more stanzas to follow what he had written, so that he could kind of get an idea of what I was going for. And he loved it. He said, "Oh, that's a great idea." He said, "Why don't you finish up the what you're doing? Do the first, what we call the rough draft, and then we can kind of whittle it down and polish it and work on it." So I did. So I finished up the. Now he wrote those in 2012.
Wow.
He shared them with me for the first time in 2013, and I don't think we finally got them all published. Like, we didn't have a story, a finished, polished, fully revised, edited manuscript until I think early 2014.
Wow, it took years, 2 years.
So because it's back and forth. I mean, it was probably 14, 15, 16 different revisions. I would change something, send off to him. He would change a word, and then I would change a word, back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
And forth and back and forth and back.
Yeah.
And so by the time 2014 came around, we started sending it out to publishers. And we went through 25 rejections before the manuscript got picked up by our editor Naomi Kruger at Beaming Books, who's publishing it.
Wow.
And I tell people this is the lesson in tenacity and perseverance, because
patience.
We got Father Goose. His name is attached to this project, and it still got rejected 25 times before we found a home. And you just got to keep at it. You got to keep going. You believe in it. And we never had a whole bunch of rejections saying this part doesn't work, or these lines are just not working for us, or the tone. Like, there were always
just no.
I mean, some of them we just didn't hear from. I mean, a lot of times you just don't even hear from people. But we both have been in the business enough. I mean, he's been doing it for decades, but we've both been in the business enough that people recognize, like the editors recognize, that we know what we're doing, and they know that we're skilled enough that it's not like, well, this line doesn't work because the rhythm is off, or the rhymes aren't true. Like, they know that. They know we know what we're doing. And so one of them felt like they thought it didn't quite fit what their publishing company likes to do. They said it was a good manuscript, but it didn't fit with the company vision. Another one.
So there's the difference is like being let down by a girl. It's it's not you, it's me. Or
yeah, exactly.
You know what, dude, you got BO and bad breath, get out of here. So they're being nice. They're saying, it's just not a perfect fit.
But sometimes a publisher, one of them said, we've just finished publishing a lot of nature themed books, and we don't have room. Like, there's all kinds of reasons. And you just go with it. You're like, okay, whatever. And you just roll with it. And you move on, and you keep at it, and you keep at it. And so,
you get knocked down 25 times. You get knocked down 24 times. You get back up 25 times. You know what I mean?
I get knocked down. I get back up again. That could be a song. Hang on.
We should call Chumbawama. One of my favorite lines in this book, and this kind of resonated with me last night too as we were reading it. It said, there were no drones or airplanes flying past the smoggy sun. There were no phones or internet. The webs were spider spun.
That's my line. That's my stanza. That's one of my stanzas.
Oh, my goodness. What a line. This is such a great book. Now, where can we get this? Can we get it at MattForrest.com?
I have to tell you, one of the things I'm most proud about that book is the concept of, because the whole book is about what the world was like
before technology.
Before technology, and,
Yeah.
and the fact that you can still see what that world is like if you go outside and look up at a bird flying by or an ant crawling on the ground. Like you don't have to be in the middle of the woods to experience what that world was like. You could be in the middle of the city, and there's plenty to be able to witness. And so one of the parts of towards the end of the book is to leave behind the phones and screens, take a step outdoors, breathe in air that once was shared with monstrous dinosaurs. Think about that. The air there's only so much air.
Right.
The air we breathe was once breathed by the dinosaurs 100 million years ago.
That was another great line.
Think about that. The oxygen molecules you're breathing in right now, they were breathed by the dinosaurs. Feel the wind upon your skin. Imagine where that wind has been. So it's kind of a cool way to kind of get kids, without being preachy, but just to get kids.
Well, it's fun. It's fun and it's clever, and really that's what you have to be these days.
It is available pretty much everywhere. I don't know if Gibson's has it in house. I know you can order it through them. You can also, you can get it Amazon, IndieBound, Barnes and Noble, like wherever you get books. It's a nationally published book. So you can get it anywhere. If you want a personally signed copy, I always direct people to Main Street Bookends in Warner, where I live, because I'm literally 20 minutes away from a 20-minute walk from Main Street Bookends. So you can go to my website, mattforrest.com, and you click Matt Forrest Esenwine, children's writer, and you'll see a link for books. And if you click the books, you're going to see all the covers, like
right here,
here, Elliot.
Here, I got it on your card.
There you go. Yeah, Friends and Anemones, which is an ocean poems collection that I was part of. You're going to see all the
highlights. Matt's been in Highlights magazine.
I was just in this past November. Actually, the most recent one was this past November. So you'll see all the covers of my books, and you can just click them. And with maybe one or two exceptions, everything is available at Main Street Bookends. And when you order through Main Street Bookends, there's a section for comments or like notes, and just say, I'd like this to be signed to Alicia, or send it to Darren and Elliot or whatever. And they'll let me know. They'll send me a quick email. I'll zip down and sign it, and we can usually get it back in the mail within 24 hours, 36 hours or so.
That's so cool. All right, listen, we're just about out of time. Right. And there's so much more I wanted to talk to you about.
You told me I had all afternoon.
I did. I said you had hours. There's so much that we didn't get to, but one thing that I really want to do, because this segment is all about inspiring people. For anybody watching right now, whether they're adults, whether they're kids, thinking about getting into writing, thinking about living the dream that you're living, what is the first step they should take to start making their way down this path?
I guess I would say it's probably the same thing, no matter what it is, whether it's writing or any kind of pursuit. If you want to take something that you enjoy and make that your career or your vocation, whether it's writing or plumbing or whatever it is, you have to take the leap. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I hadn't decided to leave the radio station. And I was enjoying the work. I got along with everybody. I loved what I did. I was on air. I was on JYY, and I was on Frank FM and the Wolf. Yeah, I was doing production, and I was writing. I was doing all kinds of stuff. And I got to see Nazzy every day, which was
I don't know if that's a treat. I wouldn't.
So I liked what I was doing, but I really wanted to be a stay-at-home dad, and I wanted to develop my children's writing, and I couldn't have done it if I hadn't said, okay, I'm doing it. Unfortunately, my wife is able to, she's got a good job, and with daycare. With daycare, just daycare and gas. If you added up daycare and gas,
it's cheaper to stay home.
I was netting $150 a month. Literally, I was netting $150. So it just didn't make sense. So I could stay at home and
be with your kids.
What's that?
Be with your kids.
Right.
You could write. Yeah.
And if there's a snow day, no problem. If one of them is sick and they have to come home from school, it's no problem. If there's a parent event, no problem.
Yeah.
So, so we figured it out. How is this going to work? We realized that monetarily, financially, we could swing it.
Yep.
And so I did. Now, and so I will say, you have to plan, make sure you're doing it smartly, intelligently, but you have to be willing to take that sort of leap of faith. However, the caveat is make sure that you have done your homework with regards to being able to actually accomplish what you're doing. I didn't just decide, I want to be a children's writer, and so I leave the radio station. I've been writing since I was in school. My first poem was published in the Henniker Review, New England College's literary mag, the Henniker Review. My first poem was published, I think I was a junior in high school. And so I've been writing poems. I've had poems published in like the National Geographic Book of Nature Poetry and different anthologies.
You had already dipped your toe in the water. You already had your toes in the water. So you already knew. Yeah.
The commercial, I wrote like half the commercials of the radio station I wrote. And that's short form, like that's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So all that prepared me for my ability to write for kids. So I knew I could do it. I had to have the time to be able to kind of ramp my career up and get my name in front of people and get submissions sent out and connect and network and do all that kind of stuff. But I was confident enough in my ability that I was able to take the leap of faith. I didn't just decide, I'm going to be a children's writer without knowing anything about the craft.
Go in blind. Yeah,
right. Without knowing anything about the industry. I didn't just quit the station and jump into it. So you have to prepare. You have to know what you're getting into.
Do your research.
But you got to flip the switch, because if you don't flip that switch, you're never going to, nothing's going to change.
I think that applies with everything. That really
exactly. That's what I mean. Whether it's writing, plumbing, or whatever it is. DJing, like, if you're DJing parties, you don't just say, I like music, I'm going to DJ. There's a whole lot that goes into it. There's the rental of the equipment, understanding, not just understanding the equipment, but understanding how to work a crowd. And if a song isn't working, how do you get out of it and get something else? Like, how do you speak extemporaneously to get maybe the bride and groom on the floor or whatever?
Maybe one day I'll learn how to do all that stuff. I'm still,
and I hope you do, because I think you wouldn't be half bad.
I'll get there. All right. So listen, we can get that autograph book. Go to Matt's website, mattforrest.com. Matt is all over social media. He's all over Facebook. You're on Insta, right? You're on all the socials.
Yeah, I haven't done TikTok. I don't know how to if I can somehow dance to one of my songs, I'll probably do TikTok, but no TikTok yet.
We'll get to know that. Matt, listen, it has been a pleasure chatting with you. And you know what? You really do inspire me. And I hope somebody watching today feels inspired by what Matt is doing and the career that he's chosen, and you're blessed with the success that this guy is blessed with. So
thank you. And you really, I mean, it sounds kind of trite to say, but you do inspire me as well. I mean, everybody who I worked with, you guys do a great job, and I there are days when I miss it, and then then there are days when I remember, it's 5 o'clock and I have to produce how many commercials?
Yeah, 5 o'clock we're supposed to leave and I've got still 6 hours worth of. Yeah, I tell you those stories all the time, and you're like, oh, gee, and I left that.
Political season comes around and I'm like, nope. I'm glad I'm not in radio.
I wouldn't change it. I love it. Matt, thank you very much. MattForrest.com is it. We'll see you all next time right here.
Say hi to the whole gang.
You too, man.
Peace out.